Hello, welcome in everybody. Sorry for a bit of delay, had some technical difficulties there. Just me right now, but we'll get it going. Justin, I think, should be on his way soon. Just some issues with the kiddo, and you know how they delay time. So, to start off, just thank you for joining us in today with the IDP guys waiver wire show for week 5. Crazy that we're already kind of a quarter of the way through the season. Used to be a quarter, not anymore. Still feels like a big milestone, but here we are. So we're going to lead off with just telling more a little bit about the IDP guys and our website, and just subscribe over to the website and our Discord. Right now we have a pretty sweet promotional going on that is 20% off season-long discounts using the code WAT2024, which I will throw up here for y'all. We'll discuss that again later. So if you want to get some access to some great tools like our Discord, where we have all of our wonderful writers in at all times of the day, join us there. Our snap count tool, IDP finishes, we have all of our so many articles, weekly previews, reviews, etc. Getting into the waiver wire, we're going to start with injuries. The first one is another brutal one. Tre'Davious White, who just came back from a knee injury at the end of last year, tore his Achilles on Sunday and is done for the season. So that's a huge bummer for the Bills defense, who looked amazing against Miami this past week. But that's how it goes. Micah Parsons, the star defensive lineman, also was injured. Knee ankle injury, is expected to play. Kwity Paye for the Colts is in concussion protocol. So far, that's kind of been, if you're in the protocol, you're out the next week. So probably not going to see Kwity Paye this week. Also on the defensive line, Matthew Judon, star pass rusher for the New England Patriots, has an elbow bicep injury. It's going to go on IR. Might be a season-ending injury. Not entirely sure, but it will be a long-term injury. Patriots, building on their rough week with the loss of Judon and their demolishment at the hands of the Dallas Cowboys, also are losing Christian Gonzalez for multiple weeks. Shoulder injury for him. Again, potential season-ending, but definitely not going to be back until later in the season. Zaire Franklin for my Indianapolis Colts had a back injury, but did return to the game. So that is good for him. He did come back. He's still solid. Expect him to be a mainstay on your defenses still. Don't worry too much about that, but keep an eye out if he does regress a little bit. Cam Taylor-Britt for the Bengals, similar deal with concussion. Probably going to miss this upcoming week, but might play. On the offensive side of the ball, we have Miami Dolphins left tackle Teron Armstead with a knee injury. He cannot stay healthy, it seems, and this will be his annual, missing a couple weeks. Should have the injury. So he'll be down for a couple weeks. Stinks for the Dolphins. Might cause a small downtick in their production, but they're still an amazing offense. Hopefully Mike McDaniel and co are able to recover from that. T. Higgins for the Bengals, their second receiver, is down for a couple weeks, most likely with a rib fracture. He did mention that he doesn't expect to be out too long, so that is promising, but I would not expect him to play this week. And we'll get into some replacements for him later. Cowboys backup, Rico Dowdle, also backup running back, to clarify, had a hip injury and looks like he might miss this week. Tony Pollard still is the main guy there. He's going to get massive workload as always. Keep him in your lineups, but this might mean he has a bigger workload than normal. Star quarterback Justin Herbert had a fracture on a finger in his left hand. He would not miss any time except for the bye week this week. So when the Chargers do come back, expect to play him as normal. Shouldn't affect him too much. Kenny Pickett, on the other hand, see what I did there? Sorry. Has a knee injury, probably going to miss at least this week with the bye upcoming. Might miss more than that. Might be a good time for them to reset, kind of reconfigure their offense. with Pickett, and Pat Fryermuth probably down for a little bit as well with a hamstring injury. Devontae Adams had a shoulder and returned to the game for the Raiders. Javonte Williams had a hip injury this week and is looking like he's going to miss this upcoming matchup, which is a bummer as he was starting to ramp up a little bit coming off his massive knee injury. But we will get into some replacements for Javonte against the Jets this week in a little bit. And final injury we're going to touch on right now is Luke Musgrave, the tight end we picked as our guy for this past week. He had a concussion on Thursday night after one catch, so not ideal there. And we have been saying that a concussion protocol kind of means you're out for the next week, but with their game having been on Thursday night, a little bit of a mini bye, so he actually could play this upcoming week. Alrighty, so just a reminder now for questions. Feel free to send them in, and I will answer them as I can, as I see them. And we are going to start with the defensive side of the ball, going to the defensive line. So last week we have not much results. Boye Mafe was my pick. He did have a sack on Monday night, but who didn't for the Seahawks against the Giants, and his was in garbage time to kind of wrap up. So we're going to go ahead and give that an incomplete for now. We'll see how it goes the rest of the year. Still think he can be a solid play for the rest of the season. Samson Ebukam also kind of had a meh game, but it was a weird matchup with the Rams and Matt Stafford, who's on an absolute heater right now with Puka Nacua, Kyron Williams, who we've also touched on this year. So go us. Still think he is also a solid play, pass rush upside specialist, some sack upside there. But the first defensive lineman we are going to get into today is Yetur Gross-Matos, who is the secondary edge rusher for the Carolina Panthers. It does seem like he is the second rusher now. Justin Houston came in the offseason and was expected to be lining up across from Brian Burns. But Gross-Matos has done really well over the past couple of weeks. He has 7 pressures over the last 3 games and 2.5 sacks, including 1 sack in each of the last 2 games and a half sack in the week before. So this is not a great matchup against the Lions, who have an awesome offensive line and are probably going to be ahead pretty quickly. So I don't know if I would not recommend playing him this week. But he is a good pickup to have. He's been doing well. Brian Burns is an elite pass rusher and will take a lot of pressure and attention away from Gross-Matos if he is, in fact, a secondary rusher, which he seems to be, as he was up to 69% of snaps last week, while Justin Houston has dropped to 38%. The next edge rusher we are going to talk about, defensive lineman, is Nick Bonito for the Denver Broncos. He has been around 2/3 of snaps over the last 3 weeks, and has 3.5 sacks in that span. He's been doing really well. Seems to be picking up a lot of the slack, and their pass defense is atrocious. So teams will be passing against them a lot, and they should. So that gives him a lot more opportunities to continue to rack up sacks and other pressures and tackles for loss. Last week, he had 2.5 sacks, a forced fumble, and 4 tackles. So he is heating up a lot right now off a great matchup. And now they're going to play the New York Jets, who looked surprisingly competent on Sunday night. But their O-line still is one of the weak points of that offense. And Bonito has a chance to make some plays there. First, we're going to see any questions. Looks like I have one in here for defensive backs, which there's a couple names in there that we are going to hit on later. So I'm going to hold off on that question, Shane. And feel free to submit questions at any point, and I will get to them as soon as I can, unless there's a clear spot to get them in. So now on to the linebackers. Last week, linebackers we touched on were Terrell Bernard, who had his worst game of the season, but still solid. Still keep him in your lineups. He has immense upside, as he showed over the previous 3 weeks. Keep him in there. The Dolphins matchup is weird for everyone, so having that isn't ideal for him, it appears, but he's a great play still going forward. Deion Jones, we mentioned, as he did start over Camus Grugier-Hill in week 3, but this week he was inactive. So we're going to take the loss on that one. Was surprised to see him not play, but that does cement in that KGH is the linebacker 2 for the team. He as well did not have a great game, but the Vikings only ran 48 snaps, I believe. So really a lot of takeaways from that Panthers defense can't really give a lot to them, just with how weird it was and how few snaps were played. We also discussed Chad Muma for the Jaguars and Drew Tranquill for the Chiefs as potential replacements for Devin Lloyd and Nick Bolton. And both of them played very well. So we'll give ourselves wins on both of those. And here is Justin.
Hey, sorry about that.
All good. Welcome in.
Oh, God, sorry.
We were just talking about how we did on linebackers last week.
Not bad. I mean, some wins, some losses. Mostly our fill-ins did well, unfortunately, but it is what it is. Hopefully we can give some better advice this week.
Hopefully so. Before we go on to our linebackers from this week, I already talked about Nick Benito and Yetur Gross-Matos. Do you have anything you want to add in on either of those guys?
No, I'm sure you hit on everything. I'm just D-line is so gross right now. Hopefully you have some good options.
Or Yetur Gross-Matos.
If he's really that gross, do you want him?
I mean, he was pretty delicious the last couple of weeks, so okay.
He's playing well. So
we do have a question for a defensive lineman who can pop up right now. Have Larry Ogunjobi in a cap league. Salary cap leagues are wild. Seem incredibly difficult and interesting.
Yes.
Here to drop him. Aleem McNeil is a fun play. Sebastian Joseph Day as well. I'm not sure if dead cap is really a thing for you, but I don't really see a massive difference in that group. So
you're saying it's for large savings. So if you can save and cut for if you can save for one of those guys, I don't see a drastic difference. I agree.
I think I would prefer Sebastian Joseph Day slightly. Let me double check McNeil snap percentage.
I think it's in the 60s. I think he's been playing the full-time D tackle,
he's at
nose tackle role. So
Sebastian Joseph Day as well.
Is he still in? I'm blanking. Is he still in LA?
He's with the Chargers.
So if you need someone for this week, McNeil. But
if you're just looking for a stash, either way.
Yeah, I thought he was with the Chargers. That's why I wanted to bring it up, but I'm blanking. So, what do I get for being frazzled?
We're all good.
The joys of being stuck with no phone at work.
Yes. Work. So into our linebackers, do you want to hit on your first guy?
Sure. I don't remember if we brought him up before, but with Troy Anderson down in week 2, Nate Landman played like 90-something% of snaps, and again with Anderson on IR this week, Landman played over 90%, and unlike week 2, he really popped in week 4, 10 total tackles, and their opponent Houston allowed multiple 7+ tackle games to Steelers linebackers last week. I think Landon Roberts didn't even play a full-time role, and he still put up solid numbers. So, I mean, I'm staying in the fire with Landman for at least another week.
And I do believe we touched on him last week, but it was more the hoping Caden Ellis would continue to break out. But Landman played well.
Yeah, I mean, he's short-term, long-term, whatever you need with bye weeks. If he's available, great option. But I don't see anyone else on that roster that's going to take snaps from him anytime soon. So
no, the only player I could see would be if Rashaan Evans goes back to Atlanta. But
you would think they would already have done that if they wanted to.
Exactly, especially since he was kind of with the Eagles and then requested to leave. I think they would have already reached out to him.
Yeah. Should we touch on Shane's D tackle or D line
Yep.
question
Just saw that pop
before we
in.
hop over to your guys?
I agree.
Christian Wilkins. So I think this one is a direct result of Fangio's defense just in general, not necessarily translating as well early.
Yeah.
Hendrickson, probably.
Yeah, I think at this point.
Especially on a kind of upside, like scoring type situation, like sacks, big play leagues. That's what I was trying to come up with. Big play leagues. I think I would definitely lean towards Henderson. Wilkins is more of a tackle machine when he's playing well, but so far, it's just the Miami defense has struggled in general. So,
and as good as the surprising Cardinals have been, that's who the Bengals matchup is. I still don't trust their O-line, so I feel like Hendrickson is still a solid play. Though the Dolphins also have the Giants, as we saw, they can't block. So
yeah,
I still do think that I would go with Hendrickson, especially in the big play leagues. Kind of want to see Wilkins
see him do it
figure
once.
it out a little more. And then there is potential. Are we seeing some post-contract holdout stuff going on? We obviously don't know for sure, but it's possible.
Yeah, a lot of these guys are still getting ramped up.
Yeah.
All right, so I think you get the next linebacker.
Yep. Next one is EJ Speed from the Colts. So he took over as linebacker 2 this week, having 55% of snaps compared to Darius Leonard's 45%. And Leonard still has not been himself. He's still clearly rusty, struggling a bit, and I expect them to continue to ramp him down a little bit. Stane Steichen did say that it was not injury related, but that's disturbing if that's the case.
They've just been ramping Leonard the wrong way the whole season so far.
Agree. Yeah. He's a player I've always struggled with on the Colts. He's very much just a heat-seeking missile and not really playing within the structure of the defense, which has made some great splash plays, but also some excruciating moments as a fan. But Gus Bradley also did say that they are expecting Leonard to be back. They want him back in his full-time role by November. So I think they are going to push him back a little bit, let him heal, let him really get back to where he is and get him mentally back where he needs to be as well, because I'm sure it's taking a toll on him to not be the superstar he's accustomed to being. The type of player he is, who wears a heart on his sleeve, he probably just needs a little mental breather as well. So EJ Speed is a good player. The Colts love him. He's a tackle machine. He's pretty good. He is definitely a backup linebacker, but if he is in that linebacker 2 role, he's a solid play. And with the Titans matchup this week, who love to run the ball, he should put up some good tackle numbers. And even in the linebacker 3 role thus far this season, he has, I think, 2 less tackles than Shaq Leonard, excuse me. So he's still been putting up decent numbers. So I would feel comfortable starting him in a deeper league with this matchup.
Absolutely. He's been right on the cusp of this, I think, for a few weeks. So good to finally get him on here.
Yeah. Yep.
Do you want to touch on your one of your faves, preseason faves?
Yeah. So Houston, we have confusion. Christian Harris breakout? ? He played 90% of snaps this week, had a dozen tackles, right as a lot of us, including myself, kind of gave up on him. I still kind of lean that it's a mirage a bit. He was slightly outsnapped by Henry To'o still. Apologies if I butchered that name. And Denzel Perryman has been missing time, and I do expect Perryman to be the top guy when he does come back. Expect him to be the green dot still. But if it's not,
my guess is, if anything, it wouldn't be Perriman that loses his job. It's Harris versus Toto.
Yeah, and it's from what we've seen so far, it's clear who they trust more, especially with Harris. Like we said, he's not playing on special teams. That means a lot to coaches. That kind of shows a lot for who is going to break out. And that's another thing with EJ Speed, that he's been a linebacker. a special teams standout for a couple of years now, which means which gave him the shot to be the third linebacker and now second. So with Harris not having that, he's not trusted as much. I sold him in my main dynasty league this morning off that. That's kind of, which hurt my heart, but it's kind of where I feel like it stands. I would not be comfortable starting him this week, especially if Perriman's back. But he's not a drop at this point if you haven't yet.
Yeah. I do also think we should probably hit on a couple of the injury fill-ins that we talked about last week are just as viable likely this week. I mean, Devin Lloyd had surgery, I think, on his wrist, so he's out for – did they place him on IR? I don't remember.
But, I don't believe they did.
At the very least, he didn't fly to London, so I would be shocked if he plays this week against the Bills. So Muma should get another week to show out. And then
some Cowboys going against Josh Allen.
Tranquil, I mean, I don't know what's going on with Bolton. He hasn't practiced in 2 weeks. I gotta think he gets back to practice this week. It must be a high ankle, but we'll see.
Which is weird because he returned to that game when he first got hurt. But
I don't know. The Chiefs are being real quiet about it. So
yeah. Tranquil played 100% of snaps last week, so
he's been
honestly,
there
even if Bolton's if Bolton's back, I'm still willing to play Tranquil over Willie Gay. I'd say still, but at least for now.
I'm nervous that Tranquil goes right back to the bench behind Bolton, but we'll see.
Yeah,
I do think Tranquil's better than Gay, but like both of those guys scare me this week if Bolton were to come back.
Yep, completely agree.
Or there's just a chance they make it really gross and play Tranquil on passing downs and pull Bolton too and just turn all of their linebackers into guys you don't want to play.
Don't put that out there, please.
I was going to say sorry for putting that in the world.
Goodness. Any other linebackers you want to hit on? Or
I think that's it.
Yeah, those are the main pieces right now. We're getting into the point of the year where it's getting a little more barren out there. But defensive backs still feel good about a couple names.
Yeah.
How did we do last week?
We did well. I mean, they were solid, if unspectacular, outings from Jabril Peppers and Jimmy Ward, but they got the job done enough that, they wouldn't lose you matchups. They weren't necessarily big wins, but, I mean, they both put up solid tackle numbers, which is, the recommendation I'm going to make for you this week, too. Rudy Ford at Vegas, Green Bay Packers starting safety. He's played a full-time role over the first month of the season. And since started to play 100% of snaps in week 2, he's actually hit at least 7 tackles in each of those weeks. And on Monday night, I would expect Jimmy Garoppolo to be back, which means the Raiders should get back to their pass-happy ways. And I think playing safeties against that, gonna probably see a lot more tackles again. So I don't see that streak of 7+ tackles going away this week. So I think you do a lot worse than him as a bye week fill-in or a DB2 or whatever you need him for. Not necessarily a huge upside unless he gets a pick like I think he did this past week. I think he got one of those pick, or I'm blanking, but yeah. He's shown the capability to do it. But
solid play. I think similar to our 2 DBs from last week. Solid, unspectacular. Don't expect him to put up Kyle Hamilton or Devon Witherspoon, our next name. I wouldn't expect him to put up that sort of game, but solid. So Witherspoon, he's probably not available in that many leagues just with post-draft hype, and he has played every snap the previous 2 weeks before Monday night. But if he's there, go get him. He played every snap for the 3rd straight game. And the numbers speak for themselves. What was it? 7 sacks and 18 picks? But no, he had 2 sacks, 2 for loss, 2 tackles for loss, I think 8 total tackles, and a 97-yard pick 6. He was absolutely incredible, and all of his tackles were momentum shifters. For a smaller player, he is a lightning rod. He was one of my favorite players in the entire class, and he showed out. And so if he's there, go get him. But for a more likely player who's on waivers right now, I'm going to recommend Josh Metellus for the Vikings. And we have a question regarding him from Shane, who we'll get to in just 1 second. Metellus has been the main slot player for the Vikings over the last 2 weeks and has played 94% of snaps over the last 2 games and has 28 tackles on the year. So similar, solid, unspectacular play. I don't know if he has corner versatility in some leagues since he has been playing that slot corner role, but if he does, that makes him an even better pickup. But I know in MFL, I do not believe he does. But if he does elsewhere, awesome. But I do think, especially in deeper leagues, he's still a solid pickup and play. Against the Chiefs this week, they're going to be throwing and running all over the Vikings' porous defense, so he should have a lot of opportunities to make some plays.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's hit on that question from Shane. So, thoughts on Nick Scott, Von Bell, Trent McDuffie, Josh Metellus? Rank them. Let's see.
That's tough.
I tend to prefer safeties to corners.
Yep.
So I think I will start Von Bell, Nick Scott. Then I think I'm going McDuffie, then Metellus.
I would as well. McDuffie, yeah, he's
playing the slot, but I think he kicks outside too. When they dropped to 2, I think he's been kicking outside and playing full time.
Yeah, when he is their full time corner, but moves inside when they're in 3 DP. Oh my goodness, yeah. 3 corner sets. Words are difficult today.
Yeah, that's what I figured.
Yeah, he's been playing. Looks like 60+% of snaps in the slot.
McDuffie, yeah, full time every week except for week 3, which was a blowout. So if I remember right.
Yep. Yeah, so I would agree there. You said Bell, Scott, McDuffie, Metellus, correct?
Yep.
I think I would go there as well. Scott and Bell, I think you can kind of play matchups a little bit. With who do they each have this week? Lions
he has Arizona.
Von Bell, and since he has Arizona. So, and that one, this week specifically, I might switch to Von Bell. Just
so he was
how
the
the
top
Lions
one.
looked running.
He was the one I had one.
Oh, yeah. Never mind. Keep Von Bell one. Von Bell one. But yeah, if matchups were switched, then I would consider flipping Scott. But
and then we have one other defense question. We both clicked it. Go ahead.
Yep. I'll let you talk about your guy.
Oh, goodness. I don't blame you. I'm tired of him putting him on my IR spot week in and week out. If you have the open spot, I don't hate putting Van Ginkel and Phillips both on the team.
Yeah. Van Ginkel I was between him and YGM for my D lineman pick this week. Definitely think he's worth it, especially if Phillips keeps.
So,
yeah.
Mike McDaniel did say he expects him at practice tomorrow. So
okay.
It sounds like he's trending back. How long he stays, who knows, the way he's been going. I thought it was just the concussions coming out, but he seems to just get nicked up everywhere right now. So that's fun. But I do think there's his talent. Honestly, I put well over Van Ginkel or even Bradley Chubb. So, like, if I'm the Dolphins and I want to find a way to play Van Ginkel, I'm playing him over Bradley Chubb or kick Bradley Chubb inside on pass rush downs and get Van Ginkel. Like, you could play Van Ginkel inside on other snaps. So, like, I actually do think there's a path where they're both relevant even when Phillips is back. Sorry, I'm kind of sitting on a fence here. It's a little uncomfortable, but
again, the Dolphins do have the Giants this week, so I'm fine, absolutely fine playing Van Ginkel this week, no matter what Jalen Phillips' status is.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
So I don't think I haven't seen any more defensive questions come in.
No, I think we hit them all. Good evening to you too as well, Marco. Missed that one at the beginning. But yeah, so a couple other names to touch on. We omitted Khalil Mack. Another player we said was probably cooked and maybe even droppable. 6 sacks last week. I guess go get him.
On bye this week.
Yeah.
And Bosa should
Hopefully.
be back, so it'll kill Tuipulotu.
I still don't know if it kills him. I would not start Thule in week 6 if Bosa's back, but he still should have a role. Just don't know what that will look like.
Yeah, the Chargers are going to get much more tests against them coming up. If I remember right, their schedule is about to get a lot harder.
I believe so. Yeah. Another DB question.
Fanga for Bell and Scott. I know they haven't had tough matchups. This is, I'm going to waffle a little on this one too. It kind of depends on league type a little bit to me. Hafanga is a great big league or a big league play, whereas Bell and Scott are going to be a little more consistent. So some of it kind of depends on what you kind of need out of your lineups and what type of format, how your scoring set up. So if interceptions are highly rated, sacks are highly rated, that's a league type where I'm going to lean more towards Hafanga. If you're looking more for a consistent few tackles to put up a solid number of points week in and week out, maybe sacks and INTs aren't worth as much, I do think I would lean towards Von Bell over Hafanga. I think he's going to be more consistent.
And he's clarified that it's a tackle-heavy league, so I also would lean Bell. I prefer not to drop Hufanga if possible, but if that's your drop, then yeah. That's where I go. It looks like Hufanga's been playing.
They do play Dallas this week. That'll be a fun matchup.
That will be. He's been playing like 2/3 of his snaps deep, which
not ideal, but Dak is a little turnover prone.
He's very aggressive, which they'll need to be to beat San Francisco. So
that'll be looking forward to those two having to play each other.
Yeah, it'll be fun. Yep. That's basically how last week felt, but oh, goodness. And other notes there, just with how the Raiders and Giants offensive lines looked, or more accurately, didn't look. I feel like you can probably just throw D linemen, linebackers out pretty much every week until further notice. Sack potential, they're not good. Similar with Panthers matchup right now.
So maybe LVN is like a dirty stream this week.
Oh, gross. Maybe, yeah.
He's up around. He played 50% this past week. Ugh, Gary dropped to 27.
Oh, yeah. Lucas Van Ness. I thought you meant Leighton Vander Esch for some reason. That would be LVE, but yeah, that's
Packers
in the deep league.
Packers play the Raiders, so
yeah, I would agree. He's a fun dart throw. I feel like it's one of those where if it's looking like you need an upside shot towards the end of the week, throw him in there. Hope for the best.
Yeah, I saw someone. Who was it? Mike Wooler, I think, posted there were like a ton of guys who had 1.5 sacks this week. The list was like 10 or 12 names deep, and it was a lot of bigger names. And then I feel like everyone after that just kind of got shut out.
Yep. Anyone against the Giants, just doesn't matter if it's their third string nose tackle, just go for him. Might as well. Not really. Don't recommend that, but yeah, it was a difficult week.
I was surprised by Sweat a little bit.
Yeah,
he's been crushing it all year. So,
but with the Eagles' great offensive line, you kind of see it.
Yeah.
I think let's move on to the offensive side of the ball. As you guys have been doing, let us know if there are any questions. Plugs one more time for subscribing to the IDP guys, where we do have offense too. You can sign up for a newsletter or any of our other great tools. Discord, if you subscribe to the page. And yeah.
Right.
So
quarterback.
Woo-hoo.
We threw up 2 guys last week. Unfortunately, your main play, Bryce Young, or your main play was Andy Dalton. Bryce Young came back and predictably was not as good as Andy Dalton probably would have been as a streamer. Oh well. That's why we recommended Dalton. Jordan Love, I mean, it wasn't pretty, and I wouldn't recommend watching it, but he got the job done with that rushing touchdown and gets the Raiders this week, so should be pretty good again if he's still out there. I think he's done well enough that he's probably rostered in most leagues at this point.
I would say so, yeah. Who do you have for us this week? This is a fun name.
We're getting real nasty as bye weeks kick off. So I'm going to bring up Josh Dobbs. Goodness. So Josh Dobbs for the Cardinals playing the Cincinnati Bengals, who just allowed Ryan Tannehill to look reasonably good with as much as he had to throw the ball. Dobbs has actually been scoring pretty well after he had a struggle week one. He didn't have much time in Arizona, getting spun up with his receivers and everything. Since then, he's actually started targeting the receivers more. Week one, he was heavy into Zach Ertz. He started bringing Hollywood back to relevance. This past week, he got Michael Wilson really involved. And he's put up 17 fantasy points in each of the last 3 weeks or more. So over that time, he's averaging 31 pass attempts a game. I wouldn't be surprised to see him around that number again against the Bengals. Hopefully the Bengals can actually score to kind of keep up with the Cardinals. What a gross statement that was.
Yeah, ew. Back in the... Oof.
And surprisingly, I didn't realize this about him. He's actually had 41 rushing yards per game or more in each of the last 3 games. So he has something of a floor that he's giving you. He's got 31 pass attempts, good. I mean, Hollywood and Wilson are good receivers, like Ertz, McBride, like James Conner. It's not bad if you, for instance, have Herbert going on by this week. He even had 12 rush attempts in week 4. Now, some of that might be a result of the matchup a little bit, but I mean, the week before it was 6. So, like, he's running the ball and throwing the ball. And, I mean, it's not going to be a high-end production. It's not going to be Josh Allen this past week, but he ought to hopefully get you another 17 points this week, which if that's what you're looking for on a bye week, I mean, what do you think? I know.
So I have a gross question for you. Who are you starting? Josh Dobbs or Joe Burrow?
Josh Dobbs?
Yeah, and I think it's pretty clear right now. Honestly, the Bengals need to sit Burrow. He's not what he is. His passing map right now, it's like telling me Jake Browning can't do that. Like, how many? I think they've completed 1 pass. It's more than 20 yards in the air. It's like it's gross right now.
So yes, absolutely Stroud. I'm assuming at this point he's probably universally rostered because of some of the gross quarterback performances to start the year. I think I would probably play him as a top 12 quarterback the rest of the year. Back end, but I mean, for instance, in a dynasty league, I just traded Joe. I don't have many draft picks coming up. I traded a lot of them to kind of be a win-now team, and Joe Burrow's been killing my team, so I actually traded Burrow for Stroud and a couple picks. Not even great picks either. It's pretty gross, but yeah. I honestly, Stroud over Burrow, as gross as it is. Dobbs over Burrow this week. And then, let's see. We had a couple other ones. I don't know about this.
So Josh Dobbs, I believe, has alopecia.
Okay.
So cannot grow hair.
Okay.
I believe.
That makes sense. I couldn't think of it. Heineke is a flyer off waivers and Superflex. Probably worth the grab at this point. Who does Atlanta play this week? I am drawing a blank on that one.
They have Houston.
Okay, so they should be able to score some points, maybe. But I don't know if they win that game, and if they don't, then they might consider switching to Heineke.
Yeah,
But
I mean, yeah, Ritter's been struggling a lot, but yep. If he struggles again this week against a not great Houston defense, then I would pick him up. Ritter still does have the vote of confidence from Arthur Smith today. And I mean, last year, Marcus Mariota looked like a high school quarterback and was played until week 13. I mean, another thing with Ritter, though, is like this was his 8th NFL start. So, I mean,
yeah, he's still being treated as a rookie, and he was never the most accurate quarterback in college. But I do think, I mean, he's the leader of that team from what a lot of their people have come out and said. So I don't know. I think he'll have a little more run.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to get replaced anytime soon. And talent-wise, I do think he is an upgrade over Heineke talent-wise. Heineke has played spunkily and been very plucky, but
yeah, I mean, eventually I see that as if Ritter flames out as a starter, that will be the role he has in the NFL. Is he will be that Gardner Minshew, Taylor Heineke, spark plug backup type guy. So
this one's for that one's for you.
Throw this one up. Thanks, Shannon. Shannon traded me Stroud in that league. So before we hop over to running backs, we'll hit quick on this one.
Yes.
Gotta be honest, I did not see much of that Ravens game.
Gus Edwards was my top choice for running backs, but I believe was in sleeper. He was still 70% rostered, I believe, so decided against him. He is the top running back right now. I want to say he had 70-ish% of snaps.
It was 69%. Nice. And 12% for Justice Hill. So I don't know if it was
19 for Melvin Gordon.
Ramp up or what, but we'll throw one other really, if you're really desperate, type name. Keaton Mitchell, undrafted rookie speedster, is potentially going to open up his practice window tomorrow. So we'll see if he can get back. But none of the guys they have shown enough that I wouldn't at least think he could do what Justice Hill does, even a little better in the passing game. Guy is electric with the ball in his hands. So
he is. Gus Edwards is what he is. He's still definitely worth a flex play at this point. He's a bruiser. I bet they'll still use him on the goal line. Don't want to get Lamar crushed with some Eagles sort of Jalen Hurts QB sneaks, but so
the Ravens really need to work on their trade. I think they were 32nd in that poll of NFL teams on training staff. They were down. I mean, because every year their guys all get hurt, and the video circulated last year of their field that was all dried out in the summer because they didn't water their practice facility field. I don't get it, but maybe I didn't think their owner was that cheap. But
it's weird.
All right. Running backs. Let's see. Last week, 1-0-1. 1-0-2. Sharps was fine. He's more of a long-term play. Same with Tajay Spears.
Spears, I will say, did outsnap Derrick Henry again, which doesn't mean a lot because Henry's Derrick Henry, but it's something.
It's all going to be, you need the Titans to be in a trail game script. That's where you will really see Spears.
Oh, he did not outsnap Henry. My mistake. He was on field for over 50% of snaps.
Okay. And the big win was Devon Achane. If you got him, great. Keep throwing him out there as at least a flex play. I would be a little cautious with him. I do still think Raheem Mostert is the lead back there, but I wouldn't be surprised to see closer to a 50-50 split this week. And I haven't heard anything about Jeff Wilson Jr. getting his practice window activated this week, so I'm not sure. That's something to watch for as well.
Where are you on Achane right now? Would you be holding him? Would you try to sell him?
I want to say, give me a sec to pull up where and 5. Dolphins
They
play
have
the
the Giants.
Giants. The Dolphins play. Looks like they have a bye. No, they play the Panthers. So those are two very generous run defenses the next 2 weeks. Then at that point, after week 6, I would be willing to sell him before they play the Eagles.
Eagles, Patriots, Chiefs are the next 3.
Yeah, so it gets real gross real quick.
And the Raiders, which is fun. Then Jets, Commanders, Titans.
So like I am perfectly happy. Yeah, like I said, give it a couple weeks if you can. And then if he continues to pop off, see what kind of high-end running back you can get. Maybe the Cowboys continue to blow people out and Tony Pollard becomes available for HN and you can flip those two and then have Tony Pollard to close out your season. I'm going to try to flip him for a more stable piece down the stretch. But I do think you can hold and play him the next couple of weeks with confidence. And even if you keep him beyond that, he only needs a touch. Like,
he's got legit 4.2 speed. So gosh, that end of season schedule is ridiculous for them. I feel like it is for a lot of teams this year.
Yeah, so you could probably get a plus in a couple weeks for Ramondre Stevenson, and their schedules kind of flip, where the Patriots are going to get a lot lighter against the run, and because they play the Saints this week, and then I think the Bills the following week. So, I mean, the Bills give it up if the Patriots can actually keep it close, but I mean, I think you could flip them and get more on top of HN, and I wouldn't be surprised if Stevenson outscored him down the stretch. So, just a possibility. But we'll hop into our running back picks, and I grabbed the 2 Broncos running backs, assuming from everything I saw with how quickly Javonte was ruled out, a lot of injury experts kind of hinting that this could be a 1 to 2 week thing for Javonte, kind of tied to the ACL reconstruction and just overcompensating with the other leg. So he had a hip flexor. Yeah. So I think he's likely to at least miss this week. I don't see why the Broncos at 1 or they came back and won that game. So 1-3. What a gross game. They still don't really need to rush him back this week. And playing the Jets, I'm interested in both Samaje Perine as the grinder and Jaleel McLaughlin as the home run threat.
Did I put the wrong first name in?
That might have been me. Is that? I'm blanking.
If so, we apologize, Mr. McLaughlin. I'm double checking now.
Jaleel. Oh, that's right.
Very stupid. Oh, good. I put Jordan. I'm so sorry. Jaleel McLaughlin. Don't know who Jordan McLaughlin is. Don't pick him up.
Oh, I was looking at the show notes.
What was I doing? Goodness gracious.
Who's Jordan McLaughlin?
I have no idea.
So, Jets 12th most points to fantasy running backs. P-Run, like I said, grinder. He should be the touchdown guy. Should get a good 2/3 to maybe 3/4 of the touches. But McLaughlin looked real good. So he actually had 10 yards per carry and has 10 total opportunities, 7 rushes.
So to challenge a little bit, I think Samaje Perine has looked really bad. And from what I saw, I think it's going to be closer to a 50-50 split. That Perine's probably going to be more of a goal line vulture and short yardage guy. But Sean Payton kind of seems over him and that he's only playing because he has to. But with how quick they did switch to McLaughlin, especially since Perine was labeled is a third down back, even if not the prototypical, just with pass pro sort of.
McLaughlin's more the 3-down back type of player that you would put as a rookie pass pro. Yeah.
Yep.
So I think McLaughlin, he's like the record holder for yardage, I think, at collegiate level. So there's some stat I like it on it right now, but yeah. He's a very good running back who just went to a smaller school and didn't get the hype as a result.
Yep, because he's a smaller back himself, right?
Yep.
5'7", yeah. Who would you start between the two? Seems like it'd be McLaughlin.
Depends what I need.
Yeah.
Typically, I lean towards the upside, which probably would be McLaughlin.
Yeah, I think I'm going McLaughlin either way.
Especially the way the Jets looked, because Zach Wilson actually looked kind of competent, and against the bad Broncos defense, they might actually be playing from behind. The Broncos, that is.
Yeah. Here's another question for you. Zach Wilson or Joe Burrow this week?
Pass.
And the Broncos have a potentially historically bad pass defense.
Pass.
They have looked so bad. Yeah.
Okay, as bad as
I'm still going Burrow there, but I don't feel good about it. I'm choosing Jamar Chase in that one, in all honesty. So as good as Garrett Wilson it is.
Yeah, I think I need another week from Zach Wilson before I can do it. But in a 2-quarterback league, I might lean Wilson.
Zach Wilson's worth a pickup. And we talked about him for quarterback, but decided Josh Jacobs is a little less chaos. Denver's it's rough right now for him.
Yeah.
Really rough.
It's kind of Sutton for his touchdowns, which will stop at some point. And that's it.
Yeah.
Hopefully Marvin Mims actually starts playing.
Yeah. Chris Brooks.
Dynasty stash.
He's not worth Dynasty stash not worth a roster spot in free drafts right now.
Yeah. My guess is you would need Wilson to not come back and then another injury on top of that, at least one. Because it might get Ahmed's got to be close too. So if he didn't play this past week, I don't recall. But
Achan, Chris Johnson. Yeah, my comp for him coming out was Javid Best, who, if you don't remember, was smaller, electric player before. It was his he had concussion, was it a neck injury?
He got hit in the head. I thought it was a really bad concussion.
Yeah, it was head. Yeah, but
I could be wrong.
I do like that comp. Always forget how Chris Johnson was not like the most massive running back ever. I always picture him as like Derrick Henry size, but running a 4.2 for some reason.
Yeah, he's got a little of that Jamal Charles, Chris Johnson type.
Oh yeah. So the other running back we have, again, it's a gross outlook.
We see your question. We'll get to it in a sec. Sorry.
Yeah. Ronnie Rivers back up for the very fun Los Angeles Rams. Thing here, he had only played 28% of snaps last week, but he is locked in as the 2 right now. Zach Evans has still been a healthy scratch, even after Cam Akers was shipped out. Who is running as their third back right now? Or are they only playing these 2 on game day?
It's just those 2. They I can't remember if they have a third back active. It's not the rookie, obviously. I do think they have another running back on that team. I just can't remember the name.
Do. Anyway, but yeah, he had 9 carries for 47 yards last week, and caught both targets for 10 yards. I don't think some RB2s are a flex play. This is not one, I would say at this point. But Kyron Williams, as fun and good as he is, he's definitely overperforming right now. He's just not built to be a 30 touch a game sort of back. But so if something were to happen,
I think he popped with a hip already too.
Yeah.
So this week.
So Rivers is the next man up, and
I do think that would make it gross, to be honest. I do think Zach Evans would actually finally get some run.
Yeah, I would agree. So where was that other question? Yep, we'll get into that one. So wide receivers. And I think, how did we do last week?
We went, we'll say 1, 2, and 1. Josh Palmer did well. Quentin Johnston, incomplete on. He actually is someone to monitor this week with them going into the bye because he didn't do a ton. He might get dropped going into the bye week, but I do think that is a mistake, and I would be carefully watching that and willing to add him in leagues where he's dropped, because I think he played 80% of snaps this past week. So, and then Sky Moore, DJ Chark. Chark had that one coming when they switched back to Bryce Young, and
Yep.
Chiefs receivers are just Chiefs receivers at this point.
I do still feel good about Sky Moore. Still think he had the second most wide receiver snaps. MVS is a better blocking receiver, so he'll be on the field a lot. But
so let's hop out of order. Oh, sorry. Let's hop out of order here and let you take the last guy on the sheet at receiver. Oh, here, I was just going to pull up the question. Go ahead.
Okay.
So, your boy.
Jameson Williams, my guy. He was my top receiver in the 22 class. Still think he is the most talented of the group. I've also been lower on Garrett Wilson. That's not a discussion for now, though. He's electric speed, great route runner. Okay, hands. He has some issues there, but he's more than just a deep threat, which a lot of his detractors thought is all he was. But the Lions need a second receiver. Josh Reynolds had some fun games there. Khalif Raymond's a fun player. Marvin Jones is 84 years old. Who's the other one they've been playing?
Is there another one? Raymond or Josh Reynolds?
Yeah, I thought there was someone else who had like 4 catches this week, but that's how memorable they are. Jameson Williams is the most talented. I think he's the most talented receiver on their team. I would go as far as say he's the most talented player on their offense, including Gibbs. I guess they have Penei Sewell. So most talented skill guy they have, in my opinion, including Amon-Ra, sorry. But assuming this is Dameon Pierce, that's... Oof.
I say, if it's Dameon Pierce, I'm not giving him up for...
Unless Dameon Pierce is like your running back 5 and you need an upside shot at wide receiver. I don't love it still, but
if it's Alec Pierce, yes.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I don't know if there's any other Pierces we're forgetting.
Nose tackle for the Ravens, Michael Pierce.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dameon Pierce has Pollard, Barkley, and JT. Yeah, I'm holding Pierce there.
Yeah, with JT and Saquon just being question marks right now. I do think you could eventually make that deal, but I also think you could probably get him cheaper in a couple of weeks because I do think he will ramp up slowly because he is not just coming back off of a suspension. He's also coming back off of a hamstring injury and has not been allowed in the building because I think he was supposed to be allowed back this week before the reinstatement. He was supposed to be allowed back in for a couple of weeks to kind of ramp up, but then they dropped the suspension shorter and now he's just back in. So the team
is a good move by the NFL. Way to do something logical.
Well, when you adjust the things, and I think the penalty for what they did was 2 games now or something, and they've already served 4, you kind of have to.
Yep.
I think we had one other. Did you touch on everything on JMO or?
Yeah, don't play him this week, but pick him up.
Yeah.
I would try to sell cheap or buy cheap, but if someone's been holding him on their roster, they're probably not just going to sell him now. So
we had one other wide receiver question. Terry McLaurin, back to startable. The Commanders have a good matchup this week, if I recall. I can't remember who it is. So Harlow was another one that I was thinking about as a streamer, but he's a little more well rostered.
That's the Bears Thursday night.
I do think that Terry McLaurin is very startable in that game.
Yeah.
And probably going forward. At some point, Dotson was starting to see a little more. He actually got a touchdown finally, but his usage was real gross. So with the next question we just got in, let's hop back over to our show sheet. And I was going to bring up, since I already brought up Josh Dobbs, I'll bring up his receiver who popped off this week, Michael Wilson. Season high 7 targets in week 4, and after playing like 90% of snaps week 1, it dropped off significantly week 2, and he's been back around 70 weeks 3 and 4. So that's something to kind of watch. I would like to see it a little higher, but 70% for a third-round rookie isn't the worst. He's hit 50 yards in 3 straight weeks, so he's got a decent floor. He got his first 2 touchdowns this week, which is why he really hit for everyone. And the Bengals haven't been great against wide receivers. They're kind of in the middle. And Hollywood Brown will get the attention. So I do think you can pick him up, and you could probably flex him in a pinch this week. I would like to see another week. I got asked by my brother, would you rather roster Michael Wilson or Quentin Johnston?
Ooh.
And my thing to him was, do you really need to play Michael Wilson this week? I think I trust that offense more, but by the time he ramps up, Kyler also probably will ramp up, and you're looking at the wide receiver 2 for Kyler or the wide receiver 2 hopefully for Herbert. So that's the ideal scenario for QJ at that point. So for the next few weeks, I think I would rather own Wilson because Dobbs actually looks kind of competent. And like I said, I'm willing to play him this week.
I would agree there.
And
last one.
This question real fast. Pick up Hollywood, drop Jaden Reed. Yes, I would, especially with rostering Christian Watson. I didn't see what Reed's snaps did, but he's been only their third receiver playing in the slot. And I think Hollywood's at 27 targets the last 3 weeks. And I think he's been in the top 30 each of the last 3 weeks, top 20 the last 2 weeks. So get him in, fire him up. I'm playing him this week in one of my dynasty leagues for the first time all year. Now that I've finally seen him actually doing something, and him and Christian Watson is an explosive receiver pairing. So that's a lot of upside. So I think you got one other receiver you want to touch on, Joe?
Yeah, we'll talk. This one is Tyler Boyd. He's probably more rostered than not, but need to bring his name up. T. Higgins probably out for a couple weeks. And if he does play, he's definitely not going to be at 100%. And the way the Bengals offense has been rolling, Burrow has not been attempting deep passes at all, which leaves the short to intermediate areas, which is where Tyler Boyd excels at. He's had 24 targets over the last 3 games, solid PPR play.
His stats always go wild when Higgins misses too. He jumps way
when Higgins
up.
or Chase does.
Yeah.
He's a really good player. He's definitely the best third receiver in the league, unless I'm forgetting something obvious. But I'd say he's a good player. Bengals need playmakers. He's good after the catch. So 24 targets over the last 3 games. I see that he is 50% owned in sleeper, so definitely worth a look. Not my favorite play, just with the lack of explosiveness that Bengals have, but he can get an 8-catch, 50-yard game is very possible.
Yeah.
Another name to keep an eye on with the Bengals is Andre Yosevas, I believe is how you pronounce it. Their 6th round rookie from Princeton. He was up to 19% of snaps last week, including when Higgins went down. Still was 4th on the team. Or I guess I don't know how many snaps Higgins played before going out, but Trenton Irwin was above him. But I think in a very, very deep league, Yosevas could be a fun pickup, or I've seen him on waivers in some dynasty leagues, so I would go grab him. Fun after the catch player, athletic, pretty bad hands, but oh well. Just keep an eye on him if he steps into a third receiver role for now, especially with Charlie Jones also out. So last position, we'll talk tight ends. And last week, as we alluded to, our guy, Luke Musgrave, got hurt after 1 catch for 1 yard. So, not ideal, but he could play this week. Still think he's a borderline tight end 1 play. I guess most leagues don't have 2 tight ends, but still a fine play if he's active. Would you agree on Musgrave there?
Yeah, assuming he can clear protocol. It's a tough one since he's Monday night, but
yeah. With that, if you have another one, someone like a Tyler Conklin, I'd probably play him over Musgrave to be safe, but unless he's cleared early in the week. But our pick for this week is Tyler Conklin of the Jets. He has the second most targets and catches for the team this year, including 12 catches on 17 targets for $134 over the last 3 weeks. Not spectacular, but solid production. He's that 4 catches a game over the last few is really all you can hope for from a tight end off waivers. Denver's defense, as we have alluded to multiple times, is terrible. So that could open up some room for him. Yeah, that's 77% of snaps so far on the season. Top tight end for them. Another name to keep an eye on is Jeremy Ruckert, their 3rd round pick from 2 years ago. Someone I know I liked a lot out of Ohio State. And he was up to 42% of snaps last week and had a couple catches, including a long one on.
It's funny you bring those two up. It's funny you bring those two up, and Uzoma caught the touchdown.
I know. Uzoma's annoying. Going to pretend he doesn't exist for this purpose, but
all right.
Ruckert's another. He is free in a lot of dynasty leagues, even so. I think he's worth snagging there, but can't play him in redraft.
Yeah. If he's out there and you really need a weekly tight end play, grab Jake Ferguson. He may or may not be rostered at this point, but 7 for 77. I think his targets per route run at tight end is second behind some guy named Travis Kelce. So seems like a pretty good bet to make.
Yeah, I would agree. So that's all the names we have. And while we hang out for more questions, just want to remind you guys of promotion we have going on over at the idpguys.org. 20% off season-long discounts using this code WAT2024. That was from a Steeler fan who gave us that code, so give you one guess as to why that's the number. Why that's the name. Again, a lot of great tools there. Signing up gives you access to our Discord, where writers such as Justin and myself and our aforementioned Steelers fan will be all the time. And we'll answer any questions, not limited to IDP or redraft, from offensive dynasty trades to anything else. So if you're thinking about it, here's a little extra push for you. So any other questions?
Cat's got one.
Yep, cat's in the background. Say hi to the people, Caspian. Yep.
Oh, don't think so. So close it out. Oh, one last.
Oh, one last one.
Not much available. Backup tight end. Thoughts on Durham Smythe?
Durham Smythe. That was another name I was looking into for this week.
So the one that's go ahead. Sorry.
So he has, I think, 3 targets in all but one game this year. I believe this is going off the dome, and I believe has played like 90% of snaps 3 times. He's the top tight end there right now.
I don't know what week 3 was where he flipped and the undrafted rookie tight end Julian Hill played 80% of snaps and he played 36. That was the weird game, and then all of a sudden it flipped back in week 4. I'm not sure what that was. That was the one thing that gives me hesitation on Smythe.
Yeah. Are you familiar with Julian Hill at all? I am not, but maybe he's a better run blocker, and they were just.
I have no idea. I saw it, and I'll be honest, in a couple 32-man dynasty leagues, I went out and added Julian Hill just in case, because there's no one on waivers. But if there's no one on waivers, Durham Smythe, it's not a bad option. If you can, I probably wouldn't try to burn a claim on him or anything, and I would wait to see if anyone drops a tight end going into buys. Just to see if you need to play someone this week, Smythe is probably fine. They play the Cardinals, who are always
Giants.
bad against Giants. The Giants. That's little, probably less good. But I mean, they gave up that long catch to Fant that was almost a touchdown last night. So
Yep. Yeah, so that's all we've got for you guys. Another reminder for as bye weeks are coming up, watch for players on bye who have been dropped. That will, or who are out there. I think, yeah, just keep an eye out for those. Get some roster pinches at this point. Might see, like Justin alluded to, Quentin Johnson being dropped. If that happens, that is a nice stash to just pick up for free. And you can even pick them up in the middle of game time on some platforms for this week while they're on bye. So that's a nice little sneak in there.
And keep in mind too, as buys go on, like after this week, if it's before our next show, that once a player's through their bye week, they become a little more valuable when you're trading them versus a player off the bye week. So if you can sneak someone who had a week 5 bye onto your roster for someone who has a future bye, that your opposing manager now had 2 bye weeks and you had none. So fun
a little bit of a tiebreaker there.
Yes.
Great. Yeah. Looks like no more questions. So a little bit of a longer show today. Thanks for sticking with us. Yeah. Last reminder for hitting up the IDP guys, and feel free to reach Justin at FFFBallers on X or me at Jolo63 on X. Feel free to shoot any questions, comments, whatever at us. Otherwise, see you in Discord and such. Have a great rest of your day. Go win some matchups, and may the force be with you.